Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Terry. Welcome to my channel, English with Terry. I have another really cool job interview English video. This is part 2 of a big video about I have been working. In this video, I want to talk about the difference between I worked and I have worked. This is usually a very confusing grammar point of present perfect and past simple, but I have some great examples where I'm really going to show you. But before that, if you're interested in preparing for job interviews, don't miss the really cool free job interview essential phrases training video I have down below. It's in the link in the description and you can just click it. It's completely free for my email subscribers. Just leave your name and your email and enjoy. And it has the same essential phrases you will use again and again and again in job interviews. But okay, enough. Straight to the video. What is the difference between I worked and I have worked? This is a really big question for a lot of students for the simple explanation that I have worked does not always exist in other languages. Some languages don't have the present perfect, and that's what creates a little bit of confusion. But I have some great examples to show you. So, very simple, just talk about the grammar, is I worked is past simple, okay? In my case, I worked in hotels for 10 years. I worked in hotels and restaurants before I became a teacher. Now, if we looked at the past simple, it's really important to take a moment and just look at the number one mistake people have. Because English is a little bit weird, okay? Now, for example, you wanted to buy it. This is a past simple. That's an affirmative sentence, that's okay. And then in the negative is you didn't want to buy it. So look at the first, you wanted is the past tense. But for us in English, in the negative, to create the past tense, we use didn't. If you think now about the translation in your language, just think now for a moment in your language. How do you say exactly you wanted to buy it in the affirmative? But if we change that you didn't want to buy it, actually, probably your translation will not change so much in the negative. But in English, it really changes. It's a little bit weird. For example, in questions, did you want to buy it? Now, what I'm talking about is when we have like did, I, you, we, they, present tense, and then the infinitive or the verb. But look here, for example, you worked there last year. Okay. But look at the classic mistake people have here. You didn't work there last year. Now, why does this mistake happen? Because usually, if we translate into your language, I don't know what your language is, probably you don't make this big change in the negative in the past tense, right? You probably just add a negative word, but there's no change from you worked to you didn't work. Okay, and that's the classic number one mistake we have with the past simple. So just be careful, right? We say you worked there, you didn't work there last year, and did you work, all right? So before I continue with I worked, you must understand these simple ideas that in the negative and the question, the verb will be in the present, okay? Weird, but true. So the first concept and really important concept about understanding the simple past is we know when. We know when exactly, or we have a basic idea, or we have a context, or we have a basic idea. We know when. We have some information about when. So, for example, in 2008, and this is true, I worked in a pizza restaurant in Barcelona. It's 12 years ago now. That's incredible. But I worked there, and the first information you have is in 2008, I worked in a pizza restaurant in Barcelona. So that started in May 2008, and I finished September 2008. It was really quiet. It was the really big recession, so it wasn't a really hard job. It's kind of okay. But 2008 is over. So in the context of the sentence, we're making some reference to when. There's some basic information about when. The previous example was in 2008, I worked in a pizza restaurant. And the idea here of close time and open time, it's basically the idea, that 2008 is over. It's finished. There's nothing I can do to live this moment again. It can never happen again. 2008 and that time, that place can never happen again. So I can never repeat 2008. Nobody can. Until we have time machines, but we don't have time machines, right? So I worked in Barcelona in 2008. So if we compare two sentences here, I worked in a restaurant in Barcelona in 2008. So very clearly in the past simple, but we know it's 2008 and we have information about when. In the second sentence here, I can say I have worked in Barcelona before. And if you look at that sentence, first idea is I have no idea when. Not exactly. So I have worked in Barcelona. It's like when you say I have tried sushi. You are giving me zero information about when this happened, right? So in the first examples, I worked in a restaurant in Barcelona in 2008. We know when. We have information clearly about when it happened. And in this case, 2008 is over. We cannot relive 2008. If I just talk about a general experience, I have worked in Barcelona before, or if you talk about the places you have lived. I have lived in Italy, I have lived in Brazil, I have lived in Portugal, I have lived in Spain, right? So in those sentences, I have lived in Spain. I'm not giving you information about when. I have lived in Brazil. I'm not telling you when. Now, of course, I'm still alive. It's still possible that I live again in one of these countries. It's possible. But if I'm not telling you exactly when, then it's okay. So if we have this phrase, I have worked, it has two possible meanings depending on the situation. Now, one is what we saw in part one. You can say about an action that started in the past and continues now. I have worked here at this company for 5 years. Or another phrase here, the opposite idea, I have worked in a managerial position before. So the two basic ideas here is one is started in the past and continues now. Like I have worked online for 4 or 5 years. It's happening now. You're watching this video, right? Or the other idea is an experience in the past and we don't know when. It's a general reference to an experience. And these two fundamental ideas, these two fundamental rules are the basics of the present perfect. These are the two basic reasons why we use the present perfect. So an experience or action in the past, but we don't know when exactly. So the person is speaking now in the moment, and you can say, for example, I have worked in Spain, or I have lived in Spain. Or if it's your new day or first day at a new company, I have worked with this software before. It's experience or action in the past, but we don't know when exactly. We are just saying that at some point in my life, yes, I have done this. I've had this experience, okay? So, I have seen that movie 15 times. If you have a movie you really, really like and you have seen it 3, 4, 5 times, here we are just referring to the experience. I have no information about when. I don't know when exactly. Or this is true, I have been to Spain 20 times. Well, I lived there for 2 years because I was coming and going. But when I tell you, I have been to Spain 20 times, I am not telling you when. It's just an experience in the past. And I'm not saying exactly when, but it's just a general reference to the experience, right? In the same idea, it's also possible from an experience we have not had until this moment in time. An experience that we have not had until now, but are possible. So I am a teacher. I work now online. Before I worked in a language school. But two ideas here. I have never worked with animals. But I'm 34. I'm still young. Maybe one day. Or I have never worked in a big company before. So I'm talking about this experience that until now I have never had, but they are possible. Maybe it's possible. So before I became a teacher, I worked in hotels and restaurants. And the first concept here is we have some basic idea about when. Maybe I'm not giving you really detailed information about when. I'm just saying before I became a teacher, which was 8 years ago, I worked in hotels and restaurants. So for me, this period is kind of finished, where we know when and it's a close time, because those years before I became a teacher, well, I cannot relive these years. I cannot go back in time, right? So when I say I worked in restaurants before I became a teacher. So if we compare two sentences, I worked, past simple, in restaurants before I became a teacher. We have some basic information about when. We know it was in the period of my life before I was a teacher, I became a teacher, and now that period is over. And the other idea is you can say, I have worked in a restaurant before. So that's the second concept here about that it's an experience in the past, but general reference. I mean, when I say I have worked in a restaurant before, say, yeah, I have a lot of experience and I have done it. I don't really want to do it again, but you know. So when I say I worked in restaurants before I became a teacher, this is closed time and I cannot relive this period in my life. Or at least there's some basic information about when. Or I have worked in a restaurant before is a general reference to the experience. This could happen again. It's possible. I really don't want to work in a restaurant again, but it's possible. And another example here is I have not had many job interviews and I didn't have many job interviews. And I heard this example when I was just chatting to a friend of mine from Belarus, and she was talking about her experience looking for jobs. And it's important to understand this little difference, because when you say I have not had many job interviews, then that means that it's open time and you're saying, well, I am still looking for a job, as I have not had many interviews, but it is my expectation that yes, I will have more interviews in this time, this week, or this year. And if you compare just I didn't have many job interviews last month, we would use past simple, because last month, now we know when, and last month is over. You cannot live last month again. It's just, that's it, until you have a time machine. So, I mean, another example is, and this is true, I tried to live in France when I was 20. But I didn't have many job interviews, so I returned to Ireland. So I'm 34, and this was 14 years ago that I tried to live in France. So obviously that time is over and it's finished. And that is that basic difference between present perfect, I have not had many interviews, where it's open time, it's not finished. I mean, if you're talking about this month or this week, you can say I have not had many interviews, right? But I didn't have many interviews last month, it's closed time and it's finished. So let's take these two examples here. He has worked there all his professional life and he worked there all his professional life. My simple question is, in which sentence, in which phrase is he still working there? Pause the video for a moment and or comment A or B if you want in the comments. In which phrase is he still alive? Pause it and now back. So in which sentence is he still working there? If we have he has worked there and he worked there. He has worked there using present perfect means he is still working there. It's still open time and it's continuing now. It's an action in the past that continues now. So he has worked is open time, or it's continuing now. It's like today, this week, this month, still happening now, still relevant. Or he worked is closed time, like yesterday, last month, last year, where you cannot relive this experience. So to quickly review all the ideas, with the present perfect, you got two fundamental ideas, two basic important concepts. One is that it started in the past and continues now. So So I have been working online for 4 years. You can see it continues right now. And the other idea is an experience in the past, but we don't know when. Just general reference and experience. Like for me, when I say I have worked in a 5-star hotel, I have had this experience in the past and yeah, I don't want it again. So started in the past, continues now. I have worked online for 4 years. I have been working online for 4 years. An important point is that I have been working, the present perfect continuous, is more common with native speakers. Number 2 is the idea of an experience in the past where we don't know when. I have worked with this kind of software before, I have worked in big companies before, and you are talking about an experience, but you are not giving information about when. Past simple is we have some information, maybe super specific or maybe just general, but at least some information about when. And the idea it's a close time or it's a finish time, all right, where it's over. Like yesterday, last week, they're over. They're finished. Past simple is I worked in Barcelona in 2008. We know when, and I cannot live 2008 again. I just can't do it. Or what happened to me where I didn't work hard in high school. I didn't go to university. So we know when, basic concept, when I was in high school. So you understand it was 10, 15 years ago. And of course, I cannot relive this experience again. All right? Okay guys, thank you so much. I'm very proud of you. If you are watching this video now, this long video, it means you're very determined to pass your job interviews. And if you want something really amazing to pass your job interviews, you should check out the free job interviews essential phrases training video in the link in the description below. It's completely free for all my email subscribers. All you have to do is just click the link, leave your name and email, and enjoy the training, which has phrases you can use again and again and again every interview you do. All right. Thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot. I'm happy to bring these lessons. What grammar or job interview videos would you like to see next? All right. Thanks guys. Please click like, subscribe, and share with your friends. All right. Bye-bye.